50-year mortgages. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm talking about this. But this topic came around and I wanted to ignore it for a little while, but then it kind of gained traction and I feel like it's completely unavoidable. And shout out to my friend Roxy who sent me a little nudge to make a video about this. But I wanted to share with you all my thoughts about what this could really mean for not just you as a home buyer, but the entire, American people. 50-year mortgages are disgusting to me as a solution. If you think about how hard a pill it is to swallow, the amortization and the interest paid over a 30-year term, that's already hard enough. The difference is that a 30-year mortgage has been pretty stable and has allowed people to build equity over the years and has been a strong financial reliable tool for, the US home buyer. A 50-year mortgage puts you in a situation where you're almost entirely paying interest for, a long freaking time. Let's just put it like that. And it's a very scary proposition for me because I already know enough about the people that work in our industry. And I know that the likelihood is that people are going to sell the benefits and the merits of a 50-year mortgage instead of talking to people about the risks. That is what concerns me. If you know anything about me and the way that I run my business, it's all based on honesty, integrity, and accountability. I want clients that are educated and informed to make the best possible decisions about their future. And this is just not it. The math does not math. Now, on top of that, I want you to think about something else. In 2008, the government took conservatorship over Fannie and Freddie Mac. Why did they do that? Well, they did that because the housing market was about to freaking implode, right? During that time, there were a lot of risky mortgages being originated. No income verification, no assets, variable rate mortgages. People were buying houses like crazy because anyone with a pulse could buy a house. Now, ultimately what happened is that those mortgages began to adjust and vary with the market. Interest rates skyrocketed, people couldn't make their payments, and they eventually defaulted, right? Now, why did they default? Ask yourself that question. If I was in a situation where all of a sudden the payment went up, why wouldn't I just sell the house? Why didn't everyone just sell their houses and avoid the crash? It was because they had no equity, right? That is the key here. The mortgages were so risky and so bad that they weren't able to build enough equity to get out from underneath that asset, right? Just ask people right now that are in situations that bought in 2022, 2023, 2024. Those are people that bought in the 7.5s and the 8% ranges. Many of them have refinanced out. Some of them have not because they have not built equity in their home because in their particular area or in their market, home property or property values have dropped or stayed the same. So they've been making payments but can't refinance because on a refinance, you need to have 5% equity at minimum. So if you bought a house with a 3% down payment, right, and don't quite have 5% equity built up, that's a problem, right? Because when the appraiser goes out and appraises the home on the refinance and realize, hey, your value actually dropped. Now you don't even have that 3% equity position, and you certainly don't have the 5% equity position to be able to refinance. So you're stuck, right? You can't refinance. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because I can already tell you that one of the most prevailing messages about a 50-year mortgage is going to be, don't worry about it. You'll just refinance in a year. And that is what concerns me the most, is the idea that people are not going to understand the absolute risk that they are going to be in by taking a 50-year mortgage. Now, that's not to say that I cannot see any benefits from it or any, potential uses as a tool to save a deal. For example, if we have someone that has really high debt to income, let's say they were already at the max, something changes in the middle of the transaction, but they're already front loaded in terms of assets that they've put down. So let's say they've got $10,000 of earnest money. They have paid $800 for an appraisal. They've paid option money of $500. They're essentially pot committed. And all of a sudden we can't get them approved because something changed in their debt to income. I can see how a 50-year mortgage would help us save that deal to avoid that client losing all of their money, breaking their heart, losing the house, ending up without housing. Yes, there's a solution. Great. 50-year mortgage, fantastic. In the worst of scenarios, sure, you can think of reasons why a 50-year mortgage could be helpful. But that is not likely what's going to happen. Most likely, it will be used as a tool to advertise and market to convince people to jump into a 50-year mortgage without them thinking about the future. And that is what one of my biggest messages is don't always just focus on what's happening in front of you. Look way ahead at the road ahead. Where does it turn? Don't look at the car in front. Look at that road way down there so that you can be prepared for what comes in the future. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is there are a bunch of different things that can be done to help people make housing more affordable. For example, there's something called LLPAs, loan level pricing adjustments. This means that when you try to buy a house, there are built-in grids that tell us how much your interest rate pricing is going to get adjusted based off of the scenarios and the details of that transaction. So if somebody was buying a single family residence, right, and they had a particular interest, let's just say the interest rate was 6.5%. If that same person turned around and said, well, we want to buy a condo instead, an attached condo, their rate would change, right? All of a sudden, because there was a loan level pricing adjustment for that property type. Same thing for multi-unit properties. Same thing for credit score. Same thing for a whole bunch of different factors, right? And those are the things that they could edit, change, reduce, or remove to help make home ownership more affordable. Mortgage insurance is another one. We have tons of programs. We have one program in particular, Home Run, that has no mortgage insurance, but it completely depends on you buying a house that is in an eligible area. They can expand that. They can especially expand that to people that have previous home ownership history that have not made 30-day late payments. Why charge them mortgage insurance if they've shown that they can handle the responsibility and have strong homeownership history? Jumbo investors already do that in certain cases with jumbo loans when they see that a borrower has had a home in the past and has no late history. So why not expand features like that? Another one is, allowing people to do low down payment options for people that are not first-time homebuyers. Right now, first-time homebuyers can do 3% down. Most everyone else does 5% down. Sure, you can go to an FHA, but why would you do an FHA if you have super high credit score, right? You want to be in a conventional loan. So expand 3% down to anyone that wants to buy a house instead of just first-time homebuyers. There are lots of different things that they could do to help, but they are not going to do those things, right? That is the problem that I have with the 50-year mortgage, is that they want you to take the risk. They want you to foot the bill. That would be like them solving the problem of people needing food or money or assistance by saying, hey, well, let's just increase their credit card balances or their credit card limits. That way they can go borrow more money and they can get what they need. Doesn't sound like a solution that makes a lot of sense to me. And that's the same thing I see with the 50-year mortgage, is essentially we are being asked to close our eyes, plug in our ears, drill a freaking hole in our skull, and pretend like we haven't watched this movie before. This has happened in the past. And I think it's completely reckless and ridiculous. And it makes me worried for the future of housing, because I know for one, I do not want a repeat of 2008, 2009 ever again. Do you?